If you have managed to scratch and claw your way to saving your first few $1,000s, and you are secretly looking at your monthly brokerage statement or your high-yield savings account thinking, "Is this a joke? I'm doing everything right, and I made enough interest to buy a single taco." Look, I need to tell you something that no one else in the finance space will admit to you. You are completely right. At this stage in the game, the traditional advice you have been fed your entire life is completely broken. Mathematically, the first $10,000 you save is going to feel like an absolute scam. It feels like a second job that does not pay. And if you do not understand the exact mechanical reason why this happens, you are going to get frustrated. You will assume the system is rigged and you will quit right before the machine actually takes over. My name is Walter, and I spend way too much time thinking about the cold, unfeeling mathematics of compound interest. Look, if you are someone who is completely exhausted by the constant pressure to have endless discipline, if you are tired of tracking every single organic avocado you buy just to watch your net worth move by pennies, stick around, because we are fixing your financial infrastructure today. We are not going to talk about motivation here. Motivation is a terrible foundation for wealth because humans are inherently moody and inconsistent. Instead, we are treating your bank accounts like software. We are going to map out the digital plumbing, look at the actual physics of money, and look at the exact dollar milestones where the engine finally shifts gears. Let us dismantle the biggest lie on the internet right now. Every mainstream personal finance channel loves to show you a graph that looks like a beautiful sweeping hockey stick. They tell you that if you just invest a small amount, the magic of compound interest, which is just the process where your investment returns earn their own returns over time, will build a massive mountain of cash for you while you sleep. Here is what they do not show you. The first 5 years of that hockey stick look like a completely flat, dead line. It looks like a patient with no pulse. Look, let us say you have an investment account with $5,418 in it. You are invested in a standard low-cost index fund tracking the broader market, which historically returns about 8% a year on average. You do the math. 8% of $5,418 is roughly $433 for the entire year. That breaks down to about $36 a month. Now think about the sheer amount of human sacrifice it took you to skip dinners out, drive an older car, and skip vacations to stack that $5,418 together. You put in thousands of dollars of manual, back-breaking labor, and the market rewarded you with $36 a month. It is insulting. It creates massive cognitive dissonance, that mental friction when your reality does not match your expectations. You expect an automated money machine, but what you actually got feels like an underpaid internship. And here is where the trap springs. Most people assume that because the numbers look boring, their system is broken. They think, well, if my investments are only making $36 a month, I might as well just spend this money on a trip to Cabo or a down payment on a truck. At least then I get some dopamine out of it. But your machine is not broken. You are just on step 1 of the blueprint, and you are misunderstanding the structural physics of an exponential curve. Let us look at the actual data, because numbers do not have emotions and they do not tell lies. Let us look at a hyper-specific scenario. Suppose you want to reach a clean, foundational milestone of $100,000 and you are starting from absolute zero. You set up your digital plumbing to automatically route exactly $412 a month into a standard market index fund. If we assume a steady 8% annual return, it is going to take you roughly 12 and a half years to hit that $100,000 mark. But look at how the labor is actually divided during those years. By the time you reach year 3, you have manually deposited exactly $14,832 out of your paycheck. Do you know how much compound interest the market has generated for you at that exact point? Just $1,984. That means 88% of your total net worth was built by your raw manual human labor. The compound interest engine only contributed a pathetic 12%. Your money is not working for you yet. You are doing all the heavy lifting, but look at what happens when you finally cross that $100,000 finish line at year 12. Out of that $100,000 total, your manual deposits add up to $61,800. The remaining $38,200 was manufactured out of thin air by the mechanical compound engine. Look, if that math just blew your mind even a little bit, do me a favor. Flick the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It lets the algorithm know we are actually talking sense here in a sea of financial hype, and it helps push these systems out to more people who are sick of the cliched advice. Now, you might be thinking, Walter, 12 years is a lifetime. I do not want to wait over a decade just to see my money start doing some work. I get it. Modern culture has completely rewired our brains for immediate feedback loops. When you post a photo, you get likes instantly. When you order food, it arrives at your door in 20 minutes. So when you put $412 into an investment account, your brain naturally expects a visual reward. When it does not get one, a psychological phenomenon called hyperbolic discounting kicks in. This is our natural human bias to choose a small reward right now over a massively larger reward in the future. It is why you would rather buy a premium coffee maker today than have an extra $80,000 in retirement. Your brain cannot compute a reality that is 10 years away. To beat this bias, you cannot rely on willpower. Willpower is an outdated software program that crashes constantly. You have to design an infrastructure that completely bypasses your conscious brain. Think of your personal finances like the water plumbing in your house. When you turn on the kitchen sink, you do not sit there and deeply contemplate whether you have the discipline to bring water from the city reservoir to your tap. The infrastructure is already built into the walls. The water flows automatically because of pressure and logic gates. We need to build the exact same type of pressure system for your money. Here are the 2 practical automated workflows you need to build immediately to survive this boring flat phase of the wealth curve. First, you need to set up what I call the systematic sweep protocol. Most people treat savings as a residual equation. Income minus expenses equals savings. Whatever is left over at the end of the month gets saved. This is structurally flawed because your expenses will always expand to consume your available balance. It is a behavioral law known as Parkinson's law. Instead, you need to flip the equation. The exact morning your paycheck hits your primary checking account, an automated logic gate must execute a transfer. If your paycheck arrives at 2 a.m. on Friday, your banking app should be programmed to automatically sweep your targeted investment amount out of that account by 4 a.m. The money needs to be gone before your human brain even realizes it was there. You cannot spend cash that has already been mechanically removed from your ecosystem. Second, you need total interface separation. Do not keep your automated investment accounts at the exact same financial institution where you hold your everyday checking account and debit card. If you can log into your banking app to check your grocery budget and instantly see your growing wealth machine right next to it, you will treat that investment balance as an emergency fund for your lifestyle desires. Move your automation engine to a completely different platform. Delete the app from your phone. Turn off notifications. You want to deliberately introduce friction into your access loops while keeping the contribution loops completely frictionless. Now, here is what most people do not realize about the architecture of compounding. The flat phase is not just a test of your patience, it's a structural prerequisite for massive acceleration. Think of an exponential curve like a commercial airliner taking off. To an outside observer standing on the runway, the plane looks incredibly slow and bulky when it first starts rolling down the tarmac. It is burning an astronomical amount of jet fuel just to move a few hundred yards. It feels inefficient, but that grueling, heavy, fuel-burning phase is the only way the plane can build the kinetic velocity required to lift 100 tons of steel into the air. This is where it gets really interesting. Once you break through that first, painful $10,000 threshold, the mathematical physics of your machine undergo a dramatic velocity shift. Let us look at the milestones. From $0 to $10,000 takes about 1.5 years. Your human labor is doing 94% of the work, while market returns do 6%. From $10,000 to $50,000 takes about 5.2 years. Human labor drops to 78% and market returns climb to 22%. But from $50,000 to $100,000, the timeline shrinks to 4.1 years. Your human labor drops to 55% and the market handles 45% of the growth. Look at those numbers very carefully. It takes a solid 1.5 years of intense human effort just to scrape together that first $10,000 block. At that point, your money is barely contributing anything. But look at the jump from $50,000 to $100,000. It takes significantly less time than the previous blocks, and the market returns are now doing nearly half of the work. Your manual input did not increase. You are still putting in the exact same amount every single month. But the velocity of the machine has completely changed. The jet fuel you burned in the first 2 years has finally created escape velocity. Once you cross the $100,000 threshold, a profound tipping point occurs. In a standard upmarket year, an 8% return on 100 grand generates $8,000. That means your automated system is now manufacturing more wealth by itself over 12 months than you manually contributed out of your own paycheck. The roles have completely reversed. You are no longer pushing the car up the hill. The car has crested the peak and is actively pulling you forward. Look, the reality of building independent wealth is not about discovering a magical high-risk trading strategy or trying to trick yourself into having the iron discipline of a monk. It is an exercise in pure infrastructure design. Your job during the first 3 to 5 years is simply to be a reliable mechanic, secure the pipes, seal the valves, and protect the system from your own human impulses. Stop looking at the daily or monthly returns, stop expecting a standing ovation from your bank app, and understand that the flat period of the curve is not a sign of failure. It is the exact mathematical foundation that allows the curve to eventually bend straight up into the sky. Now that your systematic contributions are locked down, the next critical vulnerability you have to patch is the array of structural fee traps that banks deliberately use to quietly bleed your capital dry, which is exactly why you need to map out the digital routing architecture waiting for you inside the next video.